just like to go over basic bolting strategies. When you get a bolt and you're getting the bolt for the application, you want to make sure that you keep several things in mind. One of those things being making sure either side has flat washers. If it's a through bolt, in this scenario it is, making sure everything has a locking hardware or a locking reason. 3 strategies for locking hardware. There's what you can see here is a mechanical lock washer, and this bites in when the bolt is tight and it prevents the nut from loosening. Nylock, there's a nylon insert in here, and when you thread the bolt on, it actually disperses or displaces the threads in this nylon, and that'll keep the bolt tight. You don't want to put a nylock nut and a lock washer, so that's redundant. In this strategy you would do something like this, and you always want to make sure the threads from your bolt like this protrude about 2 or 3 threads. In this scenario you can see they have a flat washer on either side, which is right, but there's a lock washer, but the bolts don't protrude past the nut. You're not getting full strength of that nut. So this should be about 2-3 threads longer. Now if you're going and you're tapping into a block, let's say this, you're tapped right into it, you can put a flat washer and a lock washer on there. Or if there's not enough room, or for whatever circumstance, you can use liquid Loctite. So depending on this bolt here is an M8. There's a low strength, which is small fasteners up to 1/4. Which is generally pink. There's medium strength, which is generally blue, and this is, I believe, to 1/2 inch. And then there's red Loctite, and that's 3/4. If you're putting something on, like if you have a small bolt like this, a M8, you want to use a blue or a pink. If you use red, you're going to have an issue getting it out. So we've covered our tapped scenario, our through bolt. You can either have lock washer, or you can have a washer and nylock. Want to make sure you're protruding the proper amount. Now if in this strategy right here, you can see we have a flat washer, and this is a tap scenario. We have a flat washer and we have a lock washer on a button head bolt, so that's right. When you're using things like stainless steel hardware, you want to try to use lock washers, and before you assemble stainless steel components, you want to make sure you put Loctite anti-seize on it. So anti-seize comes in different varieties. This one's food grade, it's just missing the labeling. This one here is another food grade, it looks white. This one here is a copper based, which is a marine grade, and there's also silver. But you put that on the first few threads, not much, just a little bit, not even that much. Just the first few threads, and it prevents the stainless hardware from galling, because stainless steel, if you're putting it together, especially with impact guns or at a higher speed, it will gall and actually cold weld itself before the bolt gets tight, and that's when essentially the bolt seizes right onto the fastener, or the nut seizes right on the fastener. Another thing called a flange nut, and a flange nut has serrations in there, and that can be used as a locking strategy. When you assemble things like bearings in machines, you always want to make sure, again, you have anti-seize on the shaft, so nice and clean. Put anti-seize on your shaft, put some in the bore, and when you tighten, before you go and tighten your set screws down, there's usually 2, you want to put a dab of pink Loctite on those, because those have usually those loosen off. And when you tighten them, after you put the pink Loctite on it, you snug it down, you tighten it, you loosen it off, and you tighten it again. That puts a divot in the shaft, and it makes it a nice strong seat. Or in a scenario where you don't know what bolt it is, this is there's 3 bars on this. This is a standard grade 5 zinc coated 1/2 inch bolt. 3 bars, you add 2 and it's a grade 5. Grade 5 is the strength of the bolt. This one here, it looks about the same size. We see how it says 8.8. That's actually telling me that that is a metric bolt. So the 8.8 is the grade of the hardware. So just looking at the head of a bolt, if it's not stainless or socketed cap screw, 9 times out of 10 you can tell if it's a metric or imperial bolt. So this one, you know it's imperial, you know it's zinc coated, it's a 1/2 inch bolt, and every 1/2 inch bolt has every 1/2 inch standard bolt has the same head, which is 3/4, the 13 threads per inch because it's coarse. Now if you were to just pick this out of the bin, or this one, it didn't have any markings on it, you can check to see if they're the same size bolt or the same pitch by putting them together. Right here, it doesn't have any identifications on it, you don't know what it is, but if you grab this bolt and you know this is a 1/2 inch, you measure the diameter, it's around 0.5, you see the 3 markings, okay, so it's imperial, and you line it right up and you can see, well, that will tell you your threads per inch, and that's a great help in identifying things.